Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday. We are Debate Sensei. We got Matt Shapiro, Esquire.
Hello.
I am your comm professor, debate instructor, Jared Kubika Miller.
Yes, you are.
Tim is not with us. He has
Trip to the Philippines for undisclosed reason.
Yes. Oh man, don't.
He said, I asked him business or pleasure. He said,
don't ask if you don't want to know.
Oh, Tim.
Oh man. All right. Hey everybody. We are talking about the hot topic for the day. But it's not just the
Is Kim Kardashian gonna do it?
Oh man. Or like, yeah, is Kanye West going to physically abuse
Win a Oscar? I don't know. Maybe not. I hope he does though.
So the topic that we're talking about is Ukraine, and obviously there is a lot going on in there right now. But not only that, it's also one of the topics that is been announced for the National Parliamentary Tournament of Excellence. It is a tournament that holds a special place in my heart. I went to that
a
one.
Special place in my heart.
So, yeah, we're gonna be talking about Ukraine right now.
Breaking my heart.
Hey,
Vladimir Putin, don't go breaking my heart.
As deep a dive as we can on this.
Don't go breaking my face either.
All right.
I'm sorry.
So Ukraine, man.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we get a little bit of background on that right now.
Jared, I have done a bunch of research on this, but
have you?
Since you're here, off the cuff, you know anything off the top of your head?
Yeah, of course I do.
Well, I'll let you speak then.
Okay. Well, I mean, Ukraine is a country that borders Russia, used to be
Allegedly.
part of the USSR. And it has been a sort of a goal of Russia, or at least of Putin, I should say, to rebuild the old power of the USSR, right?
And really? Yeah. Vladimir Putin wants to do that?
Yeah.
What is the USSR, Jared? I mean, I know you're born in 1873 and you went through 2 world wars and you know what the USSR is, but believe it or not, that is just a Beatles song to 60% of the people who aren't watching this.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie Yesterday, that's a great movie. They sing that song in there. USSR is the old Soviet bloc. It used to be a republic of Eastern European and Russia, basically. Right after World War II, it kind of formed and made a this giant, Soviet republic. But in the
United States of Russia,
the United States, yeah, right,
or also known as USSR.
In the 80s,
it was communist. It was communist.
Apart.
Right.
Okay.
Not that that's a bad thing.
In the 80s, it wasn't able to hold itself together, and so now all these countries kind of fell apart. Dude, if you imagine the United States,
I'm trying to think, Czechoslovakia, was that one of them? Or Yugoslavia, Ukraine, obviously. There's disputed territory. It's like, I'm trying to think of the last time someone just decided to reclaim territory they thought that was theirs, and it's not good when people start annexing.
You're saying the same thing several times over.
Territory.
So, yeah, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was only in 2016 where Russia annexed the Crimean Peninsula. That's on the southern end of Ukraine. It's hanging off into the Black Sea, and they're just like, yeah, this is mine now.
It was mine.
Yeah,
manifest mine.
And people
manifest destiny Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just was thinking about this. Jared, don't forget where you're at. We're going to continue.
Okay.
I like to let's weave through the history and the debate together. It just dawned on me that one thing that just came into my mind with a topic like this is it could change tomorrow.
It could change tomorrow.
So, I guess all I'm trying to say is, and I just want you could talk about it, Jared. I'm sorry about that, but I just mean to say, you know how like day to day this can change. So be careful what your plan is, your great plan that you're thinking of, because it could be status quo tomorrow if you're on the AF, or vice versa or something like that. Go ahead. Have you had that situation before?
No. So the last bit of background on the Ukraine is that in the Donbass region in eastern Ukraine, there's a fairly heavy Russian population, not in the entire region, but just on the furthest eastern portion of it, if you're looking at maps, right? And so Russia is kind of like, well, those are Russians. And so they're like, we're gonna declare these to be independent regions right here. And then they sent, and just a couple days ago, they sent in peacekeepers into those regions. They're like, we're not doing a full blown invasion or anything like that. All we're
full
doing,
blown.
we just are trying to keep the peace and prevent genocide and stuff like that. They're using all these sort of, geopolitical,
straight out of the American playbook. Just to be, I'm not going to say it out loud, but hey, it's a good playbook.
So that's where we are right now.
They're peacekeepers. They're not fighting a war. They're keeping the peace.
Yeah, it's always been a criticism of that term and what they actually do.
Let's just start with its genius. like it's the what's his name? What's their Wittgenstein?
Wittgenstein, yeah.
And words and their meanings and the use of language. Peacekeeper is a dude shooting people dead with a M16. And I'm all for it. I'm just saying,
So you
ironic.
walk into a round and it says the United States should intervene militarily in Ukraine or some version.
We have a resolution.
Yeah, that's the resolution. And so you gotta start off with definitions, right?
Say it one more time.
The United States should militarily intervene in Ukraine or intervene militarily. I don't know which way you like it better.
Kinky. No, you know what? Let's just say it again. The United States federal government should substantially increase its military involvement in Ukraine. Something like that. I mean, so the AF is going to be very pro.
That would be slightly different. A military involvement doesn't necessarily mean military intervention.
Okay,
that'd be interesting.
You're right.
You're
right. You're the professor, dog.
Oh, that would be interesting, though. It's like I would pay special close attention to those wordings, right? And so military intervention kind of limits you a little bit more than military involvement. You know what I mean? So because you could involve yourself militarily by giving more weapons or more planes or something like that. That doesn't mean that you are intervening. But maybe it does mean that you're intervening. Huh. I don't know.
Well, we're talking about definitions. So I guess this is a good little caveat to, whatever the resolution is. All right. You can kind of have some, you get to define how you want to. If you want, maybe you're the kind of person who doesn't want to go shoot everyone up, but you'll drop the guns off. You'll drop something off. You'll help them out. I mean, that's engagement. You could argue that. And then on the flip side, if you're gung ho, go to town and,
see, I don't know.
Erase them off the map or whatever the heck your plan will be,
Maybe it's just me, but I'm kind of like, you know what? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to just take that ground. Right? It seems like people want to be so tricky in debate. Sometimes the best trick is just to go straight, for the bullseye on it. So when you're talking military intervention,
I would always just go straight for the bullseye. I mean, if you're doing anything other than trying to hit bullseyes, then I don't know what we are doing with our time. But
yeah. So when you're talking definitions for military intervention, it's actually pretty simple. Okay, you can do land, air, sea, pretty much.
You got the Coast Guard. You got the crossing. you got the crossing guard, right? I always like to think that the crossing guard.
Oh man,
they're the real MVPs.
Now, land, air, and sea is actually kind of like in the order of intensity, right? You know what I mean? It's like if you're kind of like if you send people in land, that's like
commitment. Yeah, it's like stage 5 clinger is like you have actual boots on the actual ground. We don't even talk about boots on the ground. It's like drones in the air.
Yeah.
Bombs on the
That'd
ground.
be Air Force. That'd be Air Force. And so that's one way that
Space
you
Force.
kind of like that definition will affect the overall debate, right? You have troops in Ukraine is a very different type of commitment than like providing air support to Ukrainian troops. Very different. You know what I mean? And that would be that has a very different sort of risk assessment for
I would argue that, the United States specifically, like if your resolution is the United States should get military involvement or engagement or intervention, here's some patriotism. Not often flaunted in debate, but you could be like, look, if the United States, it would be possible nuclear war, but it also might just be two militaries against each other, and the United States got a good one, and they got friends, and everyone's got friends except one guy who is watching me, and I don't want to say his name, but
okay.
Vladimir has friends, I guess, too. I would be careful. There's probably an axis of evil or axis of
so when you're defining it, so like Ukraine doesn't really have much wiggle room for definition, but military intervention can really determine like what you're going for, and it changes like the disadvantages that it can produce as well, right? If you're going to do that, if you're going to do this, one of the things the AF has to do is kind of say we could win. I mean, you got to make.
That's what I'm saying. That's kind of what I was trying to say. It's like, or at least maybe you wouldn't win, but you could say like, if the United States got completely involved, and that would be crazy. It sounds crazy, but let's just go to crazy land. This is a debate. You would have a good argument to be like, they would chill out, and maybe they'd stay right there, and everyone would just stay there, and now all of a sudden it's a little bit different because, as it sits right now, maybe we need to say this out loud. Ukraine, as a definition, is a country that doesn't have as many tanks or planes or secret spies or money as
not as much
Russia. So they are grossly disproportionate, and so that's kind of a scary part of this. And so the United States, I'm not saying is better or worse, but I've seen things, at least on Wikipedia, that says the United States military is pretty crazy, and there's a whole EU of countries, from what I've briefly seen, not even trying to research for this, but I just saw it.
Yeah.
So there's a coalition or whatever. I'm sure there's people talking on phones, smoking cigars like Winston Churchill, going, "Hey, all right." So
this becomes one of those situations where somebody who might like really dork out on like sort of military tactics.
No, this is perfect. I mean,
they could really like, for instance,
or nuclear war on the neck.
You could talk about how the countries would work together. Like, it's very likely that Turkey can shut off access to the Black Sea. That would prevent Russia from sending in Navy reinforcements, into that southern coast. And so,
definitely into the interim until the U.S. could get there, or a bunch of countries could get there. All kinds of countries.
Yeah, it would basically trap Russian troops where they are right now, because they wouldn't have that sort of that Navy support, right? They wouldn't be able to get in there. It would make much more sense than the U.S. sending in troops necessarily, because right now, like Russia in that region, Russia has like 10 times the amount of troops that the U.S. has in that area, and we got troops everywhere, right? But that doesn't mean we have more troops than Russia does. So in that area, Russia's got like freaking, I don't know, 10 brigades or something like
750 tanks or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, like in terms of number.
2 days ago, that's when I saw it, or something.
The number of brigades that they have in there, like just outnumbers what the U.S. can.
By the way, brigade. I'm pretty sure I just read this in I got all hooked on Napoleon Bonaparte for a while. A brigade is like a mortar team, an infantry team, a medic team, all put together. Pretty sure that's what a brigade is. But it's like a unit that's like it's army in itself.
Yeah, and so you're thinking about like,
I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
Like if you want to talk about like real politics, and you want to talk about like can we do this? Like, yeah, we like. The United Kingdom and France getting involved, they're like together, they outspend Russia militarily. And then if you just the three of us countries like kind of committing to those committing to,
I mean,
and we'd be able to overwhelm.
Let's be real concrete about this. Plan, you get to pick, but you could start with, I was just thinking like cyber, military cyber attacks. You could do all kinds of stuff. You can mess with them. You could literally do air and drones, and you're kind of like, Obama from far away, just dropping bombs. Or you could be, boots on the ground, like we got to go get that oil, but instead of oil, we're just saving Ukraine. Maybe Ukraine has oil, and then we can make that argument. Be like, oh, we got to go to Ukraine. But my point is just Ukraine would be technically safe, I guess we're trying to say, is the advantage tagline. And the problem is Ukraine right now is completely disproportionately outmatched. And, the inherency is unless they get help. And then the solvency, the United States engages, and then run your plan text, whatever you're comfortable with. Put your personality in your plan text. You want to go crazy? Drop a nuke on Russia. You want to go like, hey, let's write a really stern letter from a general.
I wouldn't go with the nuclear option, especially since you could make
the neg. We have to go neg because the neg has the nuclear option.
I know. We're getting there. So
we're getting there. We're teasing you people. All 1/3 of you.
So the first, like you define what type of military intervention you're doing. You have to establish that it will work. That is solvency, right? And you could explain the advantages to that. And the advantages are actually kind of sort of weird because intervention is actually, you might get more moderates in favor of intervention because there is a lot of extremists that are on the side of non-intervention right now. Like, for example, Russian philosopher Alexander.
My stepfather. No, I'm just kidding.
Russian philosopher Alexander Dugin is like very much been influential in the sort of direction that Russia's been going. He wrote a book called Foundations of Geopolitics, and it's basically been this sort of play-by-play handbook that Russia's been following, where he's trying to set it up where the world becomes regional, or this is what he's advocating, that it should be regional, that the Eurasia region should be sort of dominated by Russia, and the sort of American hemisphere, or it's North and South America, America could be dealing with that, and Africa has its own region, and Asia, and so these regions, and everyone just stays away from each other.
Like this plan, Jared.
People sort of being in favor of it, and so that guy's been really much in favor, and he is like pretty extreme. You know what I mean? He's been said some stuff that is fairly fascist. And
what's his name? He sounds kind of a certain flavor of vanilla or something,
Yeah, but he's he really does. It's a worldview that very much favors dictators. You know what I mean? And
you know what? I learned what fascism was in like a couple of years ago. I wondered what fascism was, and you're like, what is fascism? It's like this thing that just happens, and. We're not against it here, but we're not necessarily for it either. So just
we are against fascism.
Are you against fascism?
I'm not afraid to say that. Yeah, I'm against fascism. Yes.
This is some controversial stuff, Jared.
I don't think I'm going to win.
I'm not a fan of Nazis either. Now that I think about it, but hey, maybe that. So, I don't want to step out of my boundaries here.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. So take a shower.
The
neg.
Yeah. So
the neg.
Yeah. I was. Okay, the neg.
No, Jared. Finish your point, and we'll move on to the neg.
I mean, like what you want to establish is like what is at stake. Okay, and so what's at stake if you don't go in is a international rules-based approach to geopolitics, right? Versus a power-based thing, and so. There's a lot of things kind of like this is the moment where we're kind of going, are we going to sort of replay appeasement that happened in World War II?
What was the guy, Neville Chamberlain or something?
Yeah. Are we going to do that?
Pulled that one.
Or are we going to learn from that and use that kind of go, no, sorry, this is not okay. And like we got rules. Sovereignty is a rule. Ukraine is clearly a sovereign nation. You are not allowed to just declare them independent. You know what I mean? It's kind of like without any sort of activity behind it. And then all of a sudden it's like, there it is. So it's weird. It's like the moderates, you could make a case that moderates should be in favor of intervention, whereas extremists would be in favor of non-intervention.
There's very, let's just keep going on the app into 20 minutes here, but I mean, in the history, not so distant history, and I'm not talking about any ideology. I'm talking simply about annexing countries that have no chance. And I think that lesson of history is so strong that these people you've seen these things on the news when people are like learning and buying guns, and like grandma's got a rifle from her, rocking chair where she normally crochets, I guess, and they're gonna get down, I guess. But it's not a fair fight, and it's likely going to end up in a lot of devastation. On the neg, I was going to just transition this to like any sort of notion that the United States getting militarily involved, engaged in whatever word, like attacking,
Yeah.
The Blackhawks are in there and everyone's doing it. That doesn't bode well for the place it's happening. Like ever. Like never, never, ever, ever. So the whole concept that, we may, I guess on the neg, I would make sure to stand on your ground that says, like, you may be trying to save the world, but you're not going to save Ukraine by doing this. And in fact, I mean, I don't want to sound like a Neville Chamberlain, but there's a point, there's a weird argument that you probably could make on the neg saying, like, even the United States engaging would only make it worse for the people who aren't trying to hold down the fort because they don't feel like they want to, I don't know. The collateral damage in my mind goes up if there's two nations at war on your third party soil. I mean, it just seems like that to me. Maybe not though. Maybe not. Look, I mean, Jared, go ahead.
I mean, we like you could talk just about fatigue, right? Where there's just too many. We've just been at war for too long. We just got out of Afghanistan. That was rough. You know what I mean? Like going back in and getting involved in something like this. Like,
could this be more righteous than Afghanistan? I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to say nothing, but
we're in it for the long haul. Also talking about how
maybe Iraq.
It would lead to like a resurgence of the Cold War. It's like it would just replay that whole thing where it's like, okay,
proxy wars.
If we stop Russia, all that means is that we've created this stalemate, or at least the stalemate between the world superpowers, and then all you have is a bunch of little proxy wars. Pardon me, proxy wars. So places like Georgia would definitely be some place where you'd see a whole lot more activity. Maybe not Afghanistan. I don't think Russia. It doesn't seem
Nolan
like interested in it.
What is the breaking news right now? Please tell me.
Oh, breaking news right now.
Give me the link with 7 minutes left.
Yeah. Hell, let's.
This is what we were just talking about. It's like if you have a plan and like your plan tomorrow is like, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of stuff happening, so we need to do more. And then all of a sudden tomorrow there's more. So now when you try to run your plan, you need to think something else because that just happened. These like up to date, minute to minute.
Yeah, let's see here.
Nolan, you are my favorite fan, and you are my favorite person to always be contributing here. Nolan said this: explosions heard in Ukraine cities after Putin announces special military operation. Now, this is to, I'm not going to say this is, I'm not surprised, okay? Like as Larry David would say. Not surprised.
No, that's like, I mean, we got to call it what it is. Like, Thaddeus, you're right.
They have literally invaded.
Yeah, it is an invasion. Like that's what's happening, and they're using euphemisms to sort of explain it away, right? Yeah. And so I don't think that you're going to win the language.
Nolan, when did that break? If you are still there, hey Thaddeus.
Yeah, and so I don't think you're going to win the language game of trying to use euphemisms, anything other than an invasion. Like I said, like like being
man.
straightforward and honest and
What's
stuff
going
like
on,
that. I
Bart
don't know. It's
slash
thing to
Nolan?
do. Yeah.
Well, just now, you know, that's pretty much breaking news. It's pretty funny. I mean, we were just talking about that. It's like there are times. It's funny because, like, you know,
No,
man,
this is
say what you will about wartime, but it's great for debate.
news. I know, and people are watching like Kanye West, beef right now, and it's like, no, this is the biggest thing that's happening right now, right? Like having
you're stupid.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know
Yeah.
millennials.
And so, I think that like this pretext is like, oh, we're not planning on a full scale invasion. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I think that you can actually predict that
15 minutes ago.
Their goal is Kiev. Their goal is to be in the capital, executing Ukrainian politicians, taking it over.
Kinky.
Yeah, and so, this is I don't know. I mean, Putin.
Well, we have to change our plan, Jared. Okay, somewhere someone's hitting. Someone's saying, "Go do something right now."
Someone's saying, "Go do something." Right
Actually,
now.
someone's probably said, "Go do something" like 45 minutes ago, and the press just was allowed to release it. Right now.
No, the thing is that Biden has said we have no interest in sending in any troops. So, like, that doesn't mean that the plan is not inherent anymore. There's still like an inherency,
no,
right?
You know, I mean, I think you think about it, dude. You know, we could probably launch cyber attacks. I mean, we're probably good. We probably got all kinds of stuff. I mean, you could get real creative with what military means. I mean, we have such a traditional view of like what military intervention means. And the reality is, if the Russians have taught us anything, military intervention can mean all kinds of weird stuff. I mean, I guess, is messing with allegedly that we were messed with our election. They messed with our election.
No,
is that military? That seems like kind of almost
alleged. It happened. Like
allegedly.
It wasn't. Yeah, that's not an alleged action. It happened. Like there's
cast a broad net here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're casting a broad net.
Well, I mean, this isn't a court of law. There's no, you know what I mean, like presumption of innocence on that. You got evidence that it happened, and you got evidence that it happened. So
I don't believe in evidence. I don't believe in facts unless I see it with my own eyes.
So like. This is one of the thing about NPTE, the tournament, is that it's happening in a couple of weeks. This is going to be drastically different between now and then.
I love it.
I
hate it.
Any real troops or any sort of military intervention by then, and so you still have I would pick land, sea, and or air. You know what I mean? Like, which one are you going for?
Or cyber or lasers.
The laser on sharks.
Hey, there's Space Force, right? Isn't there a legitimate Space Force, or am I crazy?
There's a Space Force.
Biden condemned the attack.
Not legitimate right now. So
what I tell you, Nolan? I said 45. I was wrong. It was 51 minutes ago. The government knew, and 15 minutes ago we knew.
Yeah.
What does Q have to say about it? He's in Ukraine right now, right?
Yeah.
Or she, or it, or there, or whatever they prefer to be called.
All right. Yeah. And so
Q.
It's on the negative, you got to think about like what Russia might be able to pull in. Like, and so China has been somewhat sympathetic to Russia's goals. They've been kind of aligned. And so I think at least in a debate round, you might be able to sell that it might see an opportunity, especially they might see an opportunity to kind of like take Taiwan once and for all. And so like they use this as a pretext to kind of do the same sort of thing. And so a China-Russia alliance versus US and Europe would be
a world war. Let's just call it this. That would be World War III is what we're talking about.
Yeah. And so this is one of those where
the Chinese aren't messing around over there. And they're right next to each other. They're situated for that. I mean, if you think about, and
they've been allied for a while now too. Like now, China hasn't come out and just been giving any sort of like glowing defense of this action. They've kind of taken this measured approach. I think in like real politics, China would probably see this as an opportunity to let everyone else fight it out and use that as an opportunity to gain standing in the world while everyone's kind of duking it out.
We're running into 30 minutes. I'm going to say one last thing. Hopefully it's slightly positive. I mean, I've been circling the earth now for a few years. And for as weird and horrible as it sounds, a lot of bombs have been dropped and a lot of wars I thought started. And hopefully, one thing I was hoping to say, I guess you could work this into your AF or your neg. We live in a little bit of a different world these days. And a lot of global, economics and all this stuff. I mean, for as much as it doesn't matter, it could matter. And, you could probably find very good arguments to say, probably for the neg more than anything, but just kind of like, we can maybe find something out. The key is focusing on Ukraine on the AF. It'd be like, this is like such a specific place and time. Like there's only one solution.
Yeah. And so that's why, like, the intervention, you'd have to explain like what's at stake. There's a whole lot of like
safety.
That's
the word.
I'll throw up a link. I think this is pretty good. The Economist and like what's at stake in Ukraine, and like a lot of people are saying that this is a pretty important moment in history. You know what I mean? Where we have to like be pretty aware and make sure that the right decision is made. And so on the neg, you'd have to be arguing that the sanctions will work. And, the affirmative can answer back is like, well, Russia's got a pretty big reserve of money. They could probably hold out on these sanctions.
But by the way, you know what? This is so messed up. Okay, this is messed up. Here's kind of what I was going to say on the neg, more so than like, if the worry is like the invasion, the annexation of Ukraine, if that sets a precedent, that's the word I'm going to use here, to where that happens lots and lots of times, and all of a sudden now it's starting to look like a whole different world, then that might be combated with the economy and these effects of the world and how we're all more interlinked, and the United States might have influence on China, just sheer buying power. It's like, look, I mean, they make a lot of money from like buying from us, so that is a huge loyalty. Okay, deep down, it's like money is cash is king, right? So I guess what I'm saying is like there's just a lot of and we're all interdependent kind of in a way. So and everyone knows it with the internet. So it's a different world a little bit, although it could, I'm sure, go, history will
the
show
oil
itself.
and natural gas thing that Gavin brings up is probably one of the biggest economic disadvantages. Now, the question is whether or not intervening would make it worse than not intervening. Like, because the sanctions are probably going to affect oil and gas prices. Intervening is going to affect oil and gas prices. What's going to affect it more? You know what I mean?
It does. I guess I shouldn't say that they would win. More so as like they would be dramatic. Gavin brought a point up that says, the American military loses often, and it's true. I guess what I meant to say is, if they truly you could go crazy with this plan. You know what I mean, Gavin? This is like just send them in. I mean, we typically have these, I don't know. It would affect change very hard. It would be a swing, at least compared to Ukraine by itself. That's the big thing, I guess. The equalization of the power would probably be a little stronger with the United States on their side compared to what they're facing right now.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a sticky situation, and especially for debate, things are going to be changing a whole hell of a lot between now and the tournament in a couple of weeks. You really got to be paying attention to it. And if Russia escalates this, which it looks like they're going to, you got to have to escalate the plan along with it to sort of to meet that need. So, well,
hey, thank you everyone. This was a great night, and I hope to see you all next week again.
All right, everyone. See you then. It's Matt, Jared. We'll see you in the future. All right, bye.